Before European colonial rule, Africa had many kingdoms, states, cities, and communities. Africans had built their own systems of government, trade, farming, and culture. Africa had not been one single country. It had contained thousands of different communities, languages, cultures, and political systems. During the 19th century, European powers became increasingly interested in Africa. They wanted land, resources, markets, and political power. In 1884 and 1885, European powers met in Berlin. They discussed rules for claiming African territory. By the late 19th century, European countries had competed fiercely for African territory. In 1884 and 1885, powers met in Berlin. They discussed rules for claiming African territory. European powers later drew borders that often ignored existing African political and cultural boundaries. The Ashanti people resisted British expansion in West Africa for many years. In southern Africa, the Zulu kingdom also fought against British expansion. In 1879, Zulu forces defeated a British army at the Battle of Isandlwana. European powers often returned with larger forces and stronger weapons after African resistance. The colonial masters finally defeated the African army on their second attempt and took control of the territories. Colonial governments took control of large areas of African land. Many Africans lost political control over their own territories. Fertile land was taken for settlers, plantations, mines, and colonial projects. Some colonial administrations forced Africans to work on roads, plantations, mines, and other projects. One of the darkest examples occurred in the Congo Free State under King Leopold II of Belgium. Rubber became extremely valuable because the growing industrial world needed it. The system caused widespread suffering. Families lost workers, food production declined, and communities were damaged. African communities were forced to meet collection demands. The Congo Free State experienced a catastrophic population decline during Leopold's rule. Historians have debated the exact number of deaths, but the human loss was enormous. European governments often presented colonialism as a mission to bring civilization and progress. But colonial rule often placed European interests above African freedom and welfare. Colonial governments introduced taxes that forced many Africans into the colonial money economy. People who had previously produced much of what they needed were increasingly required to find money to pay taxes. Some Africans entered wage labor because they needed money for taxes and other colonial demands. Colonial governments developed mines to extract valuable African resources. Gold and diamonds became major sources of wealth for colonial economies and foreign companies. In southern Africa, the mining industry transformed the economy and society. It also depended heavily on African labor. Colonial governments encouraged farmers to grow crops that could be sold overseas. In some areas, the focus on export crops reduced the land available for food production. Colonial governments built railways across many parts of Africa. Railways helped transport people and goods, but they were also built to move African resources to the ports. Colonial ports became important centers for exporting African resources to Europe and other markets. Colonial governments introduced schools in many areas, but access to education was often limited and unequal. Colonial rule also placed pressure on many African languages, customs, beliefs, and traditions. European languages became important in administration and formal education in many colonies. Colonial governments sometimes removed African rulers, and sometimes used them as local intermediaries. Some colonial governments strengthened differences between ethnic and social groups to make colonial control easier. Colonial borders sometimes placed different communities inside the same political territory and separated communities that had shared history. In some colonies, racial segregation controlled where people lived, worked, traveled, and received services. African resistance continued throughout the colonial period. We must stand together for our freedom. Colonial cities were often divided into areas where Europeans and Africans lived under very different conditions. In German-controlled Southwest Africa, the Herero and Nama peoples resisted German colonial rule. Between 1904 and 1908, German forces carried out a campaign that historians have recognized as genocide against the Herero and Nama. In Kenya, the Mau Mau uprising challenged British colonial rule in the 1950s. During the Mau Mau conflict, many Kenyans were detained. Serious abuses were committed in the detention system.
Across Africa, people who resisted colonial rule often faced imprisonment, violence, exile, or death.
Colonial economies were largely designed to serve imperial trade. Raw materials moved out, while manufactured goods often came in. Large amounts of African wealth were extracted and transferred through colonial economic systems.
Despite the pressure, Africans adapted, preserved traditions, created new movements, and continued to build their communities.
After the Second World War,
we demand the right to govern ourselves.
Demands for independence became increasingly powerful across the entire continent. From the 1950s onward, many African countries gained independence. Colonial flags were replaced by new national flags. Colonialism eventually ended across most of Africa, but its effects did not disappear overnight.